Alright, let's try this. This is meant to be in sort of an introductory video, but I have some comic books I'm going to show. My YouTube channel is called Battlezard. I grew up, I was an 80s kid. Well, 70s and 80s, but the 70s, I was still very, very young. It was more in the 80s when I got into Star Wars, G.I. Joe, Transformers, a little bit in He-Man. For He-Man, it was more watching the cartoon. When it came to Star Wars, I think it was after they had the movie The Empire Strikes Back and they changed the stories to be what it was after that when they were looking for Han. That was sort of my introduction to how Star Wars was in comic books. But the main comic books I collected was G.I. Joe and Transformers. I had tons of those. Fortunately, I did not hang on to them, so I've slowly been trying to get them again. Without rambling too much, I'm going to start. First up, we have Adventures in the DC Universe #1. I picked this up a little while ago. Been hunting a lot through dollar bins, $2 bins, one local comic store. Well, there's a comic store, but they do other things. They have $1 bins, they have $2 bins, and they have $5 bins, and they have $10 bins. There's a lot of good selection there, I have to admit. So I think it was in their $2 bin. Next up, now this was an interesting find. So we have Captain Atom, issue #1. This is actually the first appearance of this Captain Atom. I don't know if I think it's the second Captain Atom, but the store that has the $1, $2, and $5 bins, they also have bundles of comics. And those bundles are 15 comics for $10. So that works up round to about 67 cents per comic, and that's Canadian. So this was in one of those bundles. Initially, when I got it, I thought, well, okay, it's not a first appearance. I mistakenly thought that Captain Atom's first appearance was in issue of Micronauts. That's actually the first appearance of Captain Universe. But this is actually a first appearance of this particular Captain Atom, which I think is the second one. I don't know. Maybe it's the first one. I couldn't believe that was in the bundle. Moving on, we have Doc Stars. This one was also in one of the bundles I bought. It's in issue #4, not in issue #1. And I wasn't necessarily going to hang on to it. But then when I was going to put it in I had bags and boards that are older, or they were books I bought and they're not as in good condition, but still okay to put books that I'm going to trade away in to a local bookstore that allows you to trade comic books. So I was going to trade it, but then I noticed, did not realize it at first. I don't know how well you can see it. Here, let me put it. It has one of the creator's signatures on it. And I think the curator is, I think it's Travis Charest, whoever that is. And was signed in 1992. And here I pulled it out of a bundle in 2024. Now, these are a few, but like I said, these are some of the books that I've picked up in the last month or so that I think are worth showing off right now. I have a couple other stacks that I probably will show, but right now I'm going through DC books that I picked up. After that will be some Marvel, and then there'll be some indie books. I picked these up just this last weekend, and there is a store called White Knight, so it's actually called Upstairs White Knight now. I've been looking at their comic books, and they had just gotten in these, and I paid a little more for these. These were not $1. I think the first one that you're going to see was $8, and the rest were all $3 or $4. But it is Legion of Superheroes, #259. And these are actually in pretty decent shape. So we have Legion of Superheroes 259, 260, 261, 262, 263, and 264. So actually, the person who I know there, and I've bought a lot of role-playing stuff in the past, gave me a little bit of a deal. I paid a total of $22 for all 6 of those books. 6. I think that was a pretty decent deal. I mean, you can let me know whether you think that's a great deal or not. But of course, this book is, I think it's a minor key because it's the first issue where it changes from Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes to just Legion of Superheroes. So like Superboy is leaving the Legion. So I was glad to find those, and they're not in perfect condition, but they're in pretty good condition. This one I paid $10 for, a little more, but it is Peacemaker #1, the first issue of a 4-part miniseries. So not his first appearance, but the first issue of his first limited series. I haven't started watching the Peacemaker TV show yet. It's on my list of things to watch, but I have a lot of other stuff to go before it. Now, the last one, this is a very new book. I have been collecting from 30 years ago now, the issue 1s and issue 0s of DC titles from that era. And what is this? This is 0 Hour 30th Anniversary Special. So, yes, it has been 30 years since 0 Hour. I don't know how if that makes some people out there feel old or not. This wasn't something that I really paid attention to when it first came out. I was in my early wow, I was in my early 20s, 30 years ago. So I wasn't really collecting comic books at that time. I was more into collecting Dungeons and Dragons. All right, next up, getting into the Marvel books now, and we're going to start with, now, I've been watching a lot of YouTubers who do comic books, guys like Lunch Money Comics and Lettuce Comics, he's pretty good too, and Comic Collector Geek, Bronze and Modern Gods, a lot of great content creators. But one of the ones I like, who supposedly he's fairly new, is Hall Yeah Comics. He's excellent. I like his content. Him, and I would say that he and Ricky from All Sorts of Words, they have some of the best comedic content. Lettuce Comics does good bits and stuff like that too. But Hall, yeah, I think is it Nate? I think he's a big Dazzler fan. I had an issue of Dazzler that I had picked up randomly years and years ago, just on a whim out of a dollar bin. And since I've been watching his videos, I thought, well, let's try to find some of them when I can find them on the cheap. So I found this issue of Dazzler recently. I'm pretty sure I only spent $1 on this. And I'm not going to necessarily look for all the issues from this, but I'm more interested in picking up some of the newer books that they've done for Dazzler, like this one. So this is a Dazzler one-shot. I forget what the subtitle of it is, and it's some sort of Dazzler punk book. I have no idea. I paid $4 for this book, and I did buy it for the cover, but it will be something I read at some point. And I have a few other books here, the Marvel books. One of the other titles I grew up reading when it first came out, I have a feeling the New Mutants, when it first came out, was it the 80s or was it in the 90s? I don't remember. Like I said, my comic food is not very strong. Anyway, back when it had first started, way back whenever, I got into it and was like, I really like the characters. And I think I had like the first 10 issues. I had to buy comics off the newsstand. I lived in a small little town. We didn't have a comic shop or anything like that, so I didn't know what a direct edition was. I was like, newsstands is pretty much what I had. Although I think at one point I had I had a subscription to Transformers for a while. I picked up these. We have New Mutants number 57 and New Mutants number 96. So there we go. This next comic, which is interesting because of what its title is, also came out of one of those bundles that I bought. It was actually in its original polybag when it came out. So this is Next Gen, number 1, Secret History, Age of X-Men. The original X-Men, Cyclops, Marvel Girl, Iceman, Angel, and X-Man were assembled by Professor Xavier to train and protect mutant kind. So it's interesting. Obviously some sort of alternate thing where they have X-Man as one of the original. I don't know, I haven't read it yet. Like I said, it was in its original sealed bag, but I don't worry about keeping stuff like that sealed. I opened it and I read it. I just haven't read that one yet. Next up, got Nova, number 1. This one I actually bought and got out of the dollar bin, and I read this one already. It's interesting. It's for Return of Richard Rider. So I think for a lot of these books where I get number 1s, instead of trying to collect everything, I just try to find a trade because I want to read the story. And then there's ones like this next book that I bought where I'm looking for first appearances or interesting covers. But this one, we have Spider-Man End of the Spider-Verse Part 7. So this is the second printing, and it is the first appearance of Spider-Boy. And I have to admit, I like this cover better than the main cover for this issue. And I don't know much about the character yet. I'll read about it. Might collect a few of his titles as trades. I don't know. Next up, we have issue 80 of Web of Spider-Man. I bought this man because he's fighting Silvermane as a cyborg. I don't know really about the story. I think I had a few Web of Spider-Mans back in the day. The last Marvel book that is Marvel, really Marvel, is Ultimate Spider-Man, and this is the 6th printing of this book. And everybody says that this story is really good, so I will probably try, if I can find each issue fairly cheap, buy what I can or wait for a trade and read it that way. But I have to admit, I read this and I like the interest. It's a very interesting take on what they're doing. And I have issue 1 of Ultimate Invasion. I read that, but I don't have the rest of them yet. So I haven't actually finished reading that story. And I have the one-shot Ultimate Universe book. Haven't read that yet. All right, now the last Marvel comic. We have G.I. Joe issue number 65. I was watching, I keep wanting to call him the ghost of Tom Jones. Matt from Heroes for Hire Comic Club. He's a big G.I. Joe guy, and he's trying to collect the whole run. I'm not going to try to do that. I mean, I'll get as many as I can get. He had just recently picked up this issue. I forget where he picked it up, and I said, that's a cool cover. So when I saw it for $4, I decided, what the heck? And that's pretty good. And this is actually first appearance of some minor G.I. Joe character. I don't know the name of it. Next up, the same time I picked up the G.I. Joe and the Dazzler book. I think I picked these up roughly the same time. This first one, we have what was known as Fathom by Michael Turner. And I'm a big fan of his artwork. I know he's no longer with us, and I think people like his art. Issue number 6 of Fathom. And it's sort of an okay condition. There's lots of spine ticks. It's a black cover, so of course it's got lots of spine ticks. So it's not a high grade thing. But I bought it to have it and read it. I'm not into slabbing, so and next up I had picked up for this series, there's a small little trade. It's the first 3 issues of Telios. And this is issue number 5, and I also have issue number 6, but I still have to find issue number 4. I've already read the trade that's issues 1 to 3, and it's a very cool fantasy series. You have elves. I think you have elves. I don't know if they call them that. Next up, we have more indie books. Some of these I actually picked myself, but a lot of them all came out of the bundles that I had bought. Now, the first one up, and some of them are either one-shots, or I think all the rest are all number 1s. There's some weird ones in this little group. But first up, this is not so much a weird one. This is a one-shot of Abe Sapien, The Haunted Boy by Mike Mignola, John Okuda, and Patrick Reynolds. I haven't read it yet. It's because I have so many other things I have to read first. This one, this is a weird one. I cannot find any details about this online. The number 1 issue from Innovation. It's called Makari's Ak the Barbarian. Yes. Ak the Barbarian. I've looked at this one a little bit, the artwork inside, and saw it's very, very bizarre. Obviously, we understand the premise of this. It's satire, or it's making fun of Conan and other things like that. It's funny. This was also in one of the bundles. I couldn't believe this. This is actually considered on Key Collector, the one that Comic Tom is always talking about. This is actually a key. It's not an hugely expensive key, but it is Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters. And this is the first parody of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. At least that's what it says on Key Collector. And it's not in high grade, but even on high grade, it's only worth like $3. Now, this one was not a $1 book, and it was not in a bundle. I really like Danger Girl. So this is Danger Girl Viva Las Danger. And this is a one-shot. And when Danger Girl was new, I had bought tons and tons of it. Didn't hang on to it. But now I'm trying to find more of it. We're just going through these one at a time quickly. Next one up, we got Dark Horse presents The Black Beetle in Karabakic. I can't say that. A mystery tale by Francesco Francavilla. So this one I got out of a dollar bin. And that's sort of, I guess it's like considered a one-shot. Another character I'm interested in is Grimjack. So here we have Grimjack Case Files number 1 from First Publishing. And you can see it's by John Ostrander and Timothy Truman. That also came out of the bundles as well. Next up, we have Michael Moorcock's Hawkmoon, The Mad God's Amulet from First Comics, issue number 1. Next up, we have Heart of Darkness, issue number 1. The bundles, when you buy them, 2 of the comics are visible. This is one of the ones that was on the other side. This one I picked up, and it was in the dollar bin at a local used bookstore. And this is Motor Crush, issue number 1. Next up, we have, this was one of the other ones that was visible in the bundle. So Saint of Killers from DC Vertigo, issue number 1 of 4 by Garth Ennis and Steve Pugh, or however you say his name. Somebody can let me know how to pronounce it. This one was also in one of the bundles. This was just funny. Not in great shape, but it's from Quality Comics, number 1 in a 4-part miniseries, The Steel Claw. That's just a fun little cover. That was one of the visible ones as well, and I was like, okay, I got to buy it just for that cover. And it says here, 10 seconds ago, Louis Randall was a man. Now he's a nightmare. So that's just fun. Sorry, I'm new at this, so I'm not doing the angles probably right. This one was a fun one as well. From Epic Comics, imprint of Marvel, number 1 in a 6-issue limited series. We got Steel Grip Starkey and the All-Purpose Power 2. Next up, we have Video Jack, number 1, also from Epic. And that's just a very, very cool cover. Bates and Griffin Property, I guess is what it is. I think the cover is by Molina. I don't know. Maybe that's just part of the cover. And I think these will be the last. I do have another stack over there, but I'm not going to worry about those. I'll do this some other time. Next up, all 4 of these issues were in the dollar bin. We have Hi-Fi Fight Club number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. And yes, I know it says heavy vinyl, but that's because this is one of the alternate covers for this series. And that is all 4 of those issues. All right. And that is how we say that for today. So I'm going to try to do more of these sorts of things, shooting videos, posting them, editing them, and posting them on YouTube, and we'll see how it goes. So I appreciate you watching. Like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. Make a comment, however it all works. You all know how it works. So thanks for watching, and you have a great day. And what else is there to say? Bye.